it for the second round. It kind of changed. Let's officially go live. And yeah, let's discuss it. So again, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're doing so much NBA content over here for the draft. In about 30 minutes, I will be doing a mock draft of what I believe is going to happen based on reporting, based on kind of what I would do if I was teams. But ultimately, that is what we're going to be doing in about 30 minutes after this video. So let's get started here. I have Jason Preston as my dude as a second round steal. The biggest knock on Preston is that he is not super athletic, does not play defense whatsoever. But you know, there is some role that I think he has as like a second, maybe a third point guard on a team. Look, he wasn't particularly great from the free throw line, which is really interesting. He was shooting like 60% from the free throw line. He shoots 39 from 3, 51 overall from the field. His effective field goal percentage, 58, super good, already better than the NBA average. Obviously, that's at Ohio. That's not like a super good conference. And their level of competition probably isn't that great. The one thing where he jumps off for me as well, he is a rebounder. He can defend. He can on the defensive side of the ball. He's a rebounder. He is a passer. He's creating assists. Now, he did have a lot of usage at Ohio as kind of being their main dude, but he's a guy who is, again, because he's unathletic, there are people out there that say that he's not going to translate to the NBA, and again, because of his bad defense, we don't care about the offense. There is a little bit to get excited about for his offensive skill set. Again, he is a guy who can shoot a little bit, pass, rebound, all these different things. Now, does he totally get wiped off the floor athletically? I think that's totally valid argument. Again, second rounders. These are second rounders. These are guys that I think are worth taking a second round pick, and probably are going to be one of the top guys that we're talking about come next year as far as who was selected in the second round that actually did something in the NBA and was a solid NBA player, and maybe could have slipped to the bottom of the first if we did a redraft. So I will start with Jason Preston on this one. I think he's got good skills that can keep him in the NBA. The next here is Chris Smith out of UCLA. Now, Smith was injured this last year, and obviously UCLA made a big run with him. You know, I think that he is a guy who, if he was healthy going into the season, obviously if UCLA makes the same type of run with him, I think he's a guy that's probably going in the top 20 in the first round. He has a lot of talent. Pulling stats from what he did before he got injured. I believe these are the stats that, you know, are there. He's a rebound. He, rebounds at a solid rate. He shoots at a pretty solid rate. He's an athlete. Just a project ultimately. And this is a guy who I think if you're getting him in the second round, he is a project that you're going to work with, put him in a good system. Don't expect him to be like a guy who's a world beater and just going to just perform right as he from game one. I do think he's a guy that, figure out what the injury is, figure out if he can recover and how well and, quickly he can recover from it. And if he can, how is he going to be able to become a better player and, kind of just reach his potential of what he was before the injury, or has the injury just totally decimated any chance of that? But I think he's worth it. Again, second round. We're talking second round guys that are going to potentially be solid fits in the NBA and pretty good dudes that could flourish. Nemius Kipa, whatever you want to call him, is my next guy. Look, because the whole center position is just dying out in the NBA and their value is just decreasing, especially when it's one of these guys who doesn't really shoot a whole lot. He's not really a guy who, is going to provide too much offense on his own, but he does provide great defensive numbers. Let's get into it. And some offensive skill set. So first of all, points per possession, really solid. Again, you'll find that with most big men, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. I do really believe that he finished at the rim pretty solid for just kind of what he faced. I mean, again, his talent of competition or his competition wasn't great as far as talent goes. He played in the Mountain West at Utah State. Look, I think he does provide a little bit of a touch. Shoots 70% from the free throw line, 10 total rebounds, and if you look at his block rate, 13%, that's huge in college. So does he provide some type of a Nerlens Noel type of presence in the NBA? Was a good rebounder, like I already mentioned. The interesting thing about him too, and this might come down because of usage in the NBA, and I don't know if a team will try to use him in the same way Utah State used him. He had a 19% assist rate. That is really, really big for centers. You look at, I'm just going to pull up two random centers here from my board. Isaiah Jackson and Kai Jones. These guys are getting a combined 12%. That's an average of 6. It's 7 and 5 respectively to those guys. Assist rate. And so to see him just be at, again, almost 19%. That is crazy. Getting blocks, getting assists. So does he have some skill set that kind of separates him from just the kind of the tall dude who, can defend the rim and catch lobs? I think there is a little bit more to him than that. And that is why I would say I would most definitely be happy to, select him in the second round. I think there is some small upside there. Again, maybe he's not a starting center, but maybe he's a dude like a Nerlens Noel, can play 20 minutes, can maybe start and play like 20 to 25 minutes a game and be a solid rim protector in the NBA while providing a little bit more skill set than what you usually see from most of those guys. Our next guy is going to be Mr. Justin Champagne. I don't even know how to say his last name, but from Pittsburgh. Man, I really liked some of his numbers. Sophomore year, pretty solid. Again, second round, kind of a talent. Dude does not shoot the three that well. At least last year he didn't. 31% from the field, 47% from the field overall. Again, 31 from three. I see some potential with him. He got blocks as being a kind of a forward type of player at Pittsburgh. I just see him again being solid. His rebounding was actually pretty solid at 26%. For his rate as a defensive rebounder. There is some passing. There is a little bit of a kind of a savvy skill set there for him. Justin Champagne from Pittsburgh. If your team gets him, I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be a pretty solid player in the NBA. And maybe his shooting gets better. But I do see a guy who knows how to play the game. Good feel, as they say, for the game, and it's exciting to see where he lands going into the draft. Last one of the day is our boy Trey Murphy. I will also throw in one quick player. I don't have a picture for him, but he's also an interesting guy to watch for. Trey Murphy was a guy that he provides good size. You look at his effective field goal percentage, 64, super good. So, and why is that? He is shooting the three at a good rate, 43% from the three last year. Good free throw shooter. Now the real question is, he has this length, he can play some defense, but other than that, other than the stereotypical 3-and-D type of player, is he a guy that I think is going to have really much of an impact outside of shooting the three on the offensive side of the ball? He doesn't really pass. He's not really a rebounder at all. Even getting to the free throw line, he doesn't do that a whole lot at getting a lot of usage and opportunity. So yeah, does that push him to the second round? I don't know. I think he's actually going to go to the first. I kind of came up with these 5 a while ago, and his stock has risen, but Trey Murphy is the other guy. Let me quickly throw out this next guy, who I believe is going to go in the second round, maybe the late first. Is Day'Ron Sharpe from Florida State. Big dude. He looks like a football player. And I think he's going to be a guy who, wherever he lands, he'll just be a solid player. Reminds me of kind of PJ Tucker, like on steroids, because he is not really a guy who is... Excuse me. Sorry. I said Day'Ron Sharpe. I'm totally wrong on this. How embarrassing. I'm talking about Raquan Gray from Florida State. He's a dude who is super solid. Looking at his numbers, wasn't necessarily a guy who's going to shoot a lot of threes, but kind of reminds me of like a mini-esque Draymond Green. You look at his defensive numbers, very solid. He plays very, very aggressive on defense. Is a guy who passes the ball very good, 16% assist rate. Overall, his effective field goal percentage was 54. So when I look at effective field goal percentage, I like to think that it kind of tells me a little bit of shot selection, because if a guy is really knows his game, he's going to take the shots that lead to the highest success rate for him. So if a guy's not a good three-point shooter, he can still have a good effective field goal percentage rate if he's just deciding not to shoot the three. So what do you want? A guy who is, scoring at a high rate at the basket, but he doesn't have a three-point jumper? Or do you want a guy who does believe he has a three-point shot, and maybe it's okay for some games, but ultimately he's just taking too many of them and at not a efficient, then he's not making them at an efficient rate. So which would you rather have? So I like Raquan Gray. I think he's a guy who's bulky, can defend, PJ Tucker-esque, not really a shooter that Tucker is, but he is a dude that I envision has a role in the league. All right, so that is it for our top 5 prospects in the second round that we believe in. Yeah, that is it. In about 15 minutes, I am going to start a mock draft. It will be just a first round mock draft of what is going to happen in tonight's draft. It'll be fun, and that will be starting soon. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment. I know I messed up a little bit and talked about Sharp from North Carolina, but again, subscribe to the channel. We're making videos about the draft, the off season, all the time, and yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a minute.